The moment the static hit my headphones, I felt the temperature in my room drop a few degrees. It always happens when I work with cursed audio, like the air itself knows what's coming. Before we get into this, welcome back to the IMR Scary Tales. If you're new here, I should probably warn you, you picked one hell of an episode to start with. Tonight isn't just another ghost story or a creepy legend you can laugh off when the lights are on. Tonight, we're diving into recordings, actual audio, real files that people claim have ruined lives, driven listeners insane, and in a few cases, caused death. These are sounds that should not exist, sounds people say never should have been heard by human ears, and I'm going to play them. Not all at once, trust me, I'm not that reckless, but I'll walk you through every piece of cursed audio, every tragedy connected to it, and every disturbing pattern people have reported after listening. I hesitated before hitting play. I really did, because I know what these recordings do to people. Nightmares, hallucinations, paranoia, that feeling that something is standing right behind you even when you're alone. But you're here, and I'm here, and somehow we've convinced ourselves that curiosity is worth the risk. So let's start with the one that birthed modern cursed audio lore, the well to hell. I'd heard about it for years, grainy YouTube videos, message boards with people swearing they couldn't sleep afterward, articles calling it the screaming pit, but I never actually listened to the raw file until I started preparing this episode, and I wish I could say the experience was underwhelming. It wasn't. Back in 1989, the story broke in a Finnish newspaper. Soviet scientists drilling deep into the earth, far deeper than anyone had ever gone before, supposedly hit an empty chamber nearly 9 miles underground. They lowered a microphone into the shaft, and what came back, according to the article, was a chorus of tortured screams, thousands of voices wailing from the depths of the earth. Hell, that's what people believed they recorded. Actual audio from hell. The first time I listened, I expected it to sound like a cheap horror movie clip, but when the screaming started, layered, echoing, distorted in a way that didn't sound edited, I felt my stomach drop. Even knowing it was likely a hoax, even knowing the newspaper later admitted it was fabricated, the audio still hit something primal, like our brains recognize those sounds even if we've never heard anything like them before. People who listen to the Well to Hell recording report nightmares for days. Nightmares about falling endlessly into a burning pit, or about hands pulling them downward into darkness. Some hear the screaming again in the middle of the night, long after the audio has stopped. A teenager in Romania listened to the clip on repeat for hours as a dare. His friends found him unresponsive the next morning, sitting upright, eyes open, tears dried on his face. He didn't speak for days. The first thing he said when he finally did speak was, "They want me back." He refused to elaborate, and honestly, part of me is glad he didn't. But the Well to Hell is only one cursed recording. The next one, Gloomy Sunday, isn't about hell at all. It's about sorrow so powerful that it became a legend. In 1933, a Hungarian pianist wrote a heartbreak song so devastating that people claimed it drove listeners to suicide. Radio stations banned it. Police warned citizens not to play it alone. And yet, the melody spread anyway. Some people say the curse isn't the lyrics, but the raw emotion baked into the notes themselves. A melody soaked in grief. I don't know if a song can kill people, but I do know that every time I hear the original recording, something heavy settles in my chest. Like the song pulls you downward, note by note. I'll tell you everything. What's real, what's myth, what still can't be explained. And I'll play a piece of the original audio too, but that comes later.
Because before we go deeper into heartbreak, despair, and all the strange things certain frequencies can do to the human mind, there's one more cursed recording I need to introduce. One that's tied to a video game, a town, a melody that children reported hearing differently than adults. Lavender Town. But before we explore that one, I need to know, are you sure you want to keep going? Because the further we go, the worse these recordings get. And once you hear them, you can't unhear them.
I didn't want to dive straight into Lavender Town, but the deeper I went into the research, the more I felt like every cursed recording had its own personality. The well to hell was loud and violent, panic, agony, madness wrapped into one horrifying noise. Gloomy Sunday was subtle, almost gentle, but suffocating, like grief given a pulse. But Lavender Town? Lavender Town was different. It was quiet, too quiet, and sometimes silence is more dangerous than screaming. The legend started in 1996, just after Pokémon Red and Green launched in Japan. Kids were obsessed with the games, nothing unusual there. But then doctors started noticing something strange. Children between the ages of 7 and 12 coming in with headaches, insomnia, mood swings, anxiety, even nosebleeds. Schools reported sudden outbursts, night terrors. A handful of kids developed severe paranoia, convinced that something was following them, watching them, waiting outside their bedroom doors at night. Parents noticed a pattern. All the symptoms started after their children reached a certain part of the game. A quiet town with fog, gravestones, and a melody that didn't sound like a children's game at all. Lavender Town. That soft, high-pitched tune layered with frequencies adults couldn't hear, but children could. Frequencies science claims can affect developing brains, triggering migraines, irritability, even emotional instability. To this day, Nintendo has never acknowledged the rumor. They deny any dangerous version of the song ever existed. But audio preservationists did find a slight difference between early and later releases of the game. Nothing dramatic, just a subtle tweak to the melody, some tones removed, others softened. Maybe it was just a simple audio correction. Maybe it was damage control. Or maybe they fixed something they didn't mean to create. I listened to both versions late at night while researching this episode. The original file was shrill, almost metallic, the kind of sound that makes the hairs on your arms stand up for no logical reason. I didn't get a headache or a nosebleed, but I did feel watched. Like something about that sound reached out, slipped under my skin, and lingered long after the audio stopped. For 2 nights in a row, I woke up at 3:12 a.m., wide awake, no noise, no nightmare, just the Lavender Town melody echoing faintly in the back of my mind. When I finally checked the file's timestamp on my computer, I realized something unpleasant. The track ended exactly at 3:12 a.m. when I listened to it the first night, and somehow my brain remembered it. But Lavender Town is only the beginning of the modern cursed audio era. The next recording I looked into was far more obscure and far more unsettling. A file known as slow.wave. No one knows who created it. No one knows where it came from. It surfaced on an old Japanese forum in 2007, posted by an anonymous user who wrote only one thing: "Don't listen for more than 2 minutes." Naturally, people did exactly that.
The recording is simple at first. A tone, low, dull, almost like the hum of a fridge. But the longer it plays, the more the sound changes. Layers emerge, throbs, pulses, glitches, patterns that almost sound like breathing. People reported hearing whispering underneath the hum, but when audio experts isolated the frequencies, nothing intelligible appeared. Yet listeners kept hearing voices anyway. Some claimed that when they listened with headphones, they felt pressure on the sides of their skull, like invisible hands were cupping their head. Others said the audio didn't feel like it was entering their ears. It felt like it was coming from inside their head, vibrating behind their eyes. The most disturbing reports came from users who listened to the full 8-minute file. They said the tone never stopped. Not after they closed the file, not after they shut down their computers. Some swore they heard the hum follow them throughout their house, faint at first, then growing louder when they were alone. One user wrote that after the third night, he woke up with a nosebleed and a bruised indentation on each side of his skull, as if someone had been pressing down on his temples while he slept. No one ever found the original uploader. The forum was wiped years ago, but the file still circulates, hidden in archived threads, reposted on anonymous boards, lurking in forgotten corners of the internet. I won't play it for you here. I'm reckless, not irresponsible. But I will tell you this, even talking about it makes my ears ring. Maybe it's just the memory of the sound, or maybe it's something else. Sometimes our brains recognize patterns we shouldn't recognize. And that brings me to the last cursed recording of this section, one that doesn't come from the earth, or a song, or a video game, or an anonymous file. This one comes from the sky. The Max Headroom incident. In 1987, 2 Chicago television stations were hijacked by an unknown signal. A masked figure interrupted the broadcast, face covered by a distorted Max Headroom mask, voice glitching and echoing. It was supposed to be nonsensical performance art, a weird prank. But the audio in that hijack doesn't behave like normal audio. People who've studied the file swear there are hidden frequencies layered under the broadcast, frequencies that weren't part of the original intrusion. Some researchers claim to hear words that weren't spoken. Some hear whispering. Some swear the audio changes depending on the listener, like it adapts. Some say the hijack wasn't a prank at all, that it wasn't human, that the signal didn't come from ground-based equipment. I didn't believe that part, not until I listened to it myself, alone, in the dark. The distortion didn't sound like malfunction or interference. It sounded deliberate, intelligent, like something was trying to mimic human speech and failing in all the wrong ways. And underneath the glitching, if you listen carefully enough, there's something else. Something that sounds like breathing. Very faint, very slow. I won't play it yet, but we're getting there. We're only halfway through the cursed recordings. The ones coming next are worse, much worse, because some recordings don't just affect people. Some recordings follow them.
The deeper I fell into these cursed recordings, the more I started noticing a pattern, one that made me genuinely uncomfortable. Some of these files don't just unsettle people. They don't just frighten them or haunt their dreams. They attach to them. Like the audio is a doorway, and once you step across it, something steps across with you. And that brings me to the cursed recording I resisted researching for weeks. One that's so obscure, so rarely spoken about, that even mentioning its name online tends to make threads mysteriously disappear. A file known only as the Black Choir. Nobody knows where it came from, not even the people who claim to have heard it. The earliest mention is buried in a 2004 message board archive. Someone asking if anyone had the choir file from the abandoned church. The user described the audio as a choir singing a hymn no one could identify in a language no one recognized.
At first, it sounded angelic, soft, harmonious. But then the voices would stretch, warp, bend in ways human throats cannot. The harmony would fracture into dissonant tones that scraped against the inside of your skull. And then, as the recording reached its final seconds, the singing would stop, and something else would breathe into the mic. The person who posted about it claimed that after listening just once, they began hearing faint humming in their house at night. Soft at first, then louder each night, as if something were getting closer. They said the audio didn't feel recorded. It felt live, as if the choir was singing somewhere, right now, waiting for more listeners. That user never posted again. When people finally traced the file, they found it on an old CD labeled only "Do Not Play." The CD was discovered inside the ruins of a burned-down church in rural Louisiana. The building had been destroyed in 1999. 3 people died inside, 2 parishioners and the priest. The official cause was listed as electrical failure, but investigators noted something strange. All 3 bodies showed signs of intense terror, wide open eyes, contorted positions, despite no evidence of smoke inhalation. It was as if they died before the fire touched them. Was the choir recording responsible? Nobody knows. The CD was never logged into official evidence, but a leaked photo of it exists online. And every time people share it, the thread gets removed for safety concerns. I managed to get the audio. I won't tell you how. And yes, I listened to it. Once. It didn't make me hallucinate. It didn't make my nose bleed. But for 2 nights afterwards, I would wake up at exactly 2:06 a.m., the timestamp where the choir begins to distort, and I swear I heard faint singing somewhere in my house. Not loud, not clear, just present, lingering. Something that shouldn't have followed me home.
There's one last cursed recording I want to tell you about before we close things out. And in my opinion, it might be the most disturbing of them all. Not because of what's on it, but because of what happens after people hear it. It's known simply as the answering machine tape. The recording surfaced in 2014 when a man named Jordan Mitchell bought a used answering machine at a thrift store for $3. He took it home, plugged it in, and rewound the tiny cassette inside. He expected old voicemails, maybe a message from someone's grandmother. What he got instead was 7 seconds of horrifying audio. A woman screaming, begging, crying for help, followed by a low, rasping voice whispering, "Not yet." That's all. Just those 2 words. Jordan took the tape to the police. They opened an investigation, but the machine had no identifying information, no phone number, no serial records. The voice was never identified. Jordan couldn't sleep after hearing the tape. He kept imagining the woman on the other end, where she was, what happened to her, whether she was still alive. But after a few days, the nightmares stopped. He moved on. A month later, he received a voicemail on his phone. He didn't recognize the number. When he played it, he heard the exact same woman screaming. The same gasp for air, the same voice whispering the same 2 words, "Not yet." The police tried to trace the call. It came from a disconnected number. A week after that, Jordan vanished. His car was found abandoned. His door was locked from the inside. No signs of struggle, no clues. The voicemail is the last record of his existence. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. The answering machine he bought, the one with the original cursed tape, it's missing. Someone checked it out of the evidence room. Not a cop, not a detective, not anyone who should have had access. It just vanished, and nobody knows where it is now. Probably sitting on a shelf somewhere, waiting to be plugged in again.
After spending weeks drowning in these cursed recordings, listening to sounds that should not exist, patterns that shouldn't repeat, and voices that seem to speak long after the audio stops, I realized something unsettling about them all. These recordings aren't cursed because of what they contain. They're cursed because they spread. They travel, person to person, ear to ear, dream to dream. And if even one of them is truly dangerous, if even one of them opens some kind of door, then everyone who listens is taking a step into the unknown. I took that step the moment I hit play. And whether you realize it or not, so did you. But if you made it this far, and you want to keep walking into the dark with me, if you want more stories, more investigations, more cursed and forgotten recordings, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and it lets me keep digging deeper into the things most people are too afraid to touch. Share your own experiences in the comments. Have you ever heard something you wished you hadn't? Something that didn't sound human? Something that didn't stop when it should have? I read every story. And who knows, your recording might be the next one we investigate. Until then, keep your headphones close, keep your volume low, and whatever you do, don't listen alone.